Chester and Gus by Cammie McGovern. Principal McGregor. At school on Monday, Principal McGregor peeks out of his office as we walk by. He's Scottish, which means everyone loves the way he talks, including Gus. He asks Sarah if he might have a wee word with her before we walk to class. "Sure," she says, smiling. "Can Gus and Chester come too?" She knows how much Gus loves his accent. It always makes him rock in his chair and squeak a little, which is Gus's way of saying he loves something. Usually it's fun to watch, except this time it isn't fun to hear what he says. "I hate to bring this up, but some of the teachers have been talking about Chester. One of them specifically is asking to see his official certification as a service dog." "He's not a service dog, Mr. McGregor. You remember we talked about this? He's a therapy dog." "Yes, that's right, but it turns out the state has some rules about allowing therapy dogs into public school classrooms. They need to have certification papers as well. I assume you have those at home. It would just be a matter of bringing them in so we can make copies, and I keep them here." Sarah looks at me and then away. She's not sure where to put her eyes. I wish I could tell her. There's only one teacher who cares about this. It's Miss Palmer. "Why are you asking about this now? Has Chester done anything wrong?" "Oh no, the kids all love him. I love seeing him in the playground, and we can all see that he's very good with Gus. Some people are concerned, though, about the distraction factor. They say he's affecting other students' abilities to concentrate. They've drawn my attention to the state regulations, and apparently those are stricter than I realized." Sarah nods. I think she's trying to figure out how to tell him he doesn't have any paperwork. He never graduated from his program. We feel like we're starting to see some changes in Gus, and we keep thinking maybe it's Chester who's bringing him out into the world more. Principal McGregor squints his eyes at Sarah. "Does Chester not have any certification papers?" She can't lie. She wants to, though, I can tell. He almost does. He came close to graduating, but he overreacted to loud noise during the testing. That was the only problem. He could do everything else so perfectly." "So he's not an official certified service or therapy dog?" She looks down and shakes her head. "No." "But when you proposed this, you called him a therapy dog. I assume the vest he wore meant he'd pass those tests." She shakes her head and lifts the flap of my inside-out vest to show him. He reads the truth. Service dog in training. "Oh, dear," he says, shaking his head. Technically, the state doesn't legally mandate those papers to work as a service dog. You just have to demonstrate to a judge that the dog assists in necessary activities of daily living that the disabled person is unable to perform themselves." Mr. McGregor shuffles some more papers. "But Gus has an aid for those things. Chester doesn't do any of that." "No, I know, but Chester's helping Gus in a different way. You know how hard we've been trying to avoid an out-of-district placement. We want to find a way to keep him here in the school and home with us. I believe Chester is doing something we haven't been able to do, even with everything we've tried. He's helping him connect with other students. He might even be helping him communicate with them. If he's not certified, we can't have Chester in school. I don't have any choice in the matter. Maybe if I petition to the school board?" "It's not their jurisdiction, I'm afraid." Sarah nods and looks down. I understand. Can he go to class today so the other children can say goodbye and Gus can have one day to adjust to this? It would help him, I think." "Yes, I suppose that's all right. A transition day for everyone." Sarah stands up to go just as Gus makes a low growling sound. Up until this point, I didn't know if he knew what Mr. McGregor said. Now I know. He understands more than most people think. "Come on, Gus, let's go. We'll talk about this in the hall, okay?" He doesn't move. "Gus, can you hear me?" I nudge the hand on Gus's knee. "It'll be okay," I tell him. We still have today, and I'll be at home waiting for you after this." Gus keeps growling. "I'm not sure he can hear me. Let's show him how you've changed. Let's stand up and walk out of here." "Gus," Sarah says, "should I count to 3? I don't understand how Sarah can know Gus so well and not know how much he hates when she counts to 3. His friend Mama knows this, but his real Mama doesn't. "You know, it just occurs to me that we're meant to have a fire drill today," Mr. McGregor says. "You say the dog hates loud noises. Will he be okay with that?" He's already forgetting my name and calling me the dog. "Of course Chester will," Sarah says, because she knows the same thing too. "He'll be fine." She's dropped her nice, polite voice. She's so mad she takes Gus's hand without counting the three and pulls him out of his chair. Come on, sweetheart, we're going to class now. How to say goodbye. All day I worry about the fire drill. I don't know if fire drills are the same thing as fire alarms. I can't tell Gus I'm nervous because it'll only make him more nervous. We haven't looked at each other since we left Mr. McGregor's office, but I know he understood everything because all morning he keeps one hand on my back, which he's never done before. He's never needed to, I guess. Now he does. It means I don't lie down at all. I sit beside him awake so he can keep that one hand on me just before lunchtime. When Miss Winger says she has a bit of sad news to share with the class, I put my chin on Gus's knee because I think she's going to tell us about the fire drill, but no. We're going to have to say goodbye to Chester today. He'll come back to school to visit occasionally, but he's not going to come to school every day and stay in our room anymore. Turns out there are some rules about having dogs in school that Mr. McGregor didn't know about when he said it was okay. Amelia lets out a terrible, strangled-sounding cry. She runs over from my chair across the room and flops down next to me. It's not fair, she screams. Miss Winger keeps her voice calm. We have to abide by these rules, even if we don't think they're fair, Amelia. I have to ask you to wait until the end of the day to say goodbye to Chester. I'm telling you now because I want you to have a chance to think about this and get ready for it. Remember, there's a way to say a nice goodbye so you don't scare Chester or any of the other kids. You think about that, okay? Let's go to lunch now, everybody. Single file and quiet. Amelia, come up here and talk to me if you need to, but let Gus take Chester to the cafeteria. Amelia can hardly peel herself off me. It's surprising, though. This whole time, Gus has kept one hand on the same place in my back, which means Amelia has touched and hugged his hand. She's probably kissed it too, judging by the number of kisses she's given me, but he hasn't pulled away. Maybe he's worrying about me as much as I'm worrying about him. I don't know, because we're both too nervous to talk to each other. My person. Miss Winger keeps her promise. At the end of the math period, she tells the kids they have 20 minutes to do free reading. If you want to spend a few minutes with Chester to say goodbye, you can. Amelia knocks over her chair. She stands up so fast. A few other kids come over too. One at a time, please. Amelia, why don't you wait till the end? Most of the girls come over and hug me. One of them clips a Barrett to my collar, so I'll have something to remember her by. Then two others do it too. Now I have more Barretts than I want poking me in the neck, but that's okay, I think. Especially after one of them whispers in my ear, Don't worry, we'll all be nice to Gus when you're not here, which makes me feel better. When the girls are done, I can tell a few boys want to say goodbye, but they're a little shy. It's hard to show how you feel sometimes. I understand that. The soccer boys line up, and each one pats me quickly on the head. You were a great ball fetcher, one of them says. We'll miss you, Chester, another whispers. They make no promises about being nice to Gus. They've never been nice to him. They've also never been mean. They just pretend he's not there. One person who makes me mad is Ed, who sees everyone else saying goodbye, so he gets in line too. When it's his turn, he asks to shake my paw, but then he turns around and tells the two boys behind him, I'm the one who taught him how to do that. No, he isn't. Even the other boys seem confused, like they don't believe him. I did, he says. It was early on, right when he first got here. He'd never learned shake because dogs for crazy people don't need that trick, so I taught him. He says crazy people softly, so only the other boys hear him. They nod and laugh a little. Ed isn't funny, but they're all scared of him. When it's finally Amelia's turn to say goodbye, I'm surprised. She isn't crying. Instead, she hugs my neck and says, You're the best dog in the whole world, and I'm going to miss you so much. I want to tell you something. Just as she lifts up my ear to whisper into it, a terrible shriek pierces the room. My heart races. I drop to the ground. I have to get under something. Amelia holds on, but I claw myself free and crawl towards the coats. The shrieking sound pulses and won't stop. The coats are a bad idea. They fall off their hooks and won't help me. I want to hide under something, but Miss Winger is saying everybody needs to go into the hall. I can't go into the hall. The hall has no desks and nowhere to hide. I race back to the room and get under a desk. I don't think about Gus. I can't think about him with all this noise. Then I remember. It's the fire alarm. It's loud and it's terrible, but it won't last forever. The noise is still going, but I crawl out from under the desk. I look for Gus right away. I feel terrible that I left him. I panic, but now I'm not panicking anymore. Other kids are in the hall lining up quietly. Single file, everyone, Miss Winger calls. Single file outside. I don't see Gus anywhere. It makes it hard to breathe. There isn't any real fire, but the noise feels like a fire in my head. Gus isn't lining up with the other children. Miss Winger doesn't see this, but I do. Amelia screams, "Come on, Chester, come out with me." "No," I bark, "I can't leave Gus." The kids start filing out. Miss Winger doesn't understand me. She doesn't see that Gus is missing. Maybe she thinks he ran outside when the alarm started. I lift my head and smell. It's hard for my nose to work with all these kids and the noise pressing down. I can't tell if he's still in the hall. Finally, Miss Winger comes over and touches my head. "Come on, Chester, I don't see him. Gus is probably outside. We'll do our count there. Don't worry, we'll find him." Miss Cooper, who's supposed to be watching out for Gus, is dealing with some other kids. I don't think he's outside, but I can't be sure. I smell something, but it's far away. It's telling me not to go outside. "Come on, Chester," Miss Winger says. "You need to come now." I definitely smell something. It's him. It's Gus. I know it. "I'm getting your leash, Chester. I can't leave you inside by yourself." The noise has stopped, which helps me concentrate. Miss Winger clips the leash onto my collar, which is okay, I think, because now I can lead her to where Gus is. He's not outside. He's in there up the hallway, and he's in trouble. Sometimes I can smell trouble before it's coming, like Amelia before she has a meltdown. My nose wakes me up so I can do what I can, which usually isn't much. A dog nuzzling a knee doesn't stop a meltdown, but sometimes it does. This time, though, it's worse. It's not just a meltdown. "Come, Chester," Miss Winger says, pulling me toward the door to the playground. "Right now, we have to go outside to the other children." I sit down so she knows. No, I won't go that way. I pull her in the other direction. "Chester." I pull harder so she knows it. I mean it. This way. And she follows. I've got my nose to the ground where the smell is strongest. There are chemicals in the smell and other things I don't recognize. It's Gus too, though, and it's getting stronger. I know this is right. I get to a door, and Gus's smell is all around me. I scratch and bark because there's a doorknob, and my paws won't work for opening the door. We have to do it fast. He's in trouble, I know. Miss Winger opens the door and screams. She's surprised, but I'm not. Because Gus is my person, and a dog always knows when his person is in trouble. Gus is on the floor of the janitor's closet. He's wet his pants, but he's not the worst part. The worst part is that he's asleep, and even when I lick him and lick him and lick him, he won't wake up.